Greetings, everyone. Why is it that we only hear how horrible Jamaican men are after things have soured? You don't hear people coming out to give testimony of how they met and how beautiful the relationship was in the beginning. I am so tempted to call a particular program to say, can I tell my story? Because the narrative that's been put out here is that, Jamaican men are the worst. Now, listen to this and listen carefully. We have more people living in the diaspora, more Jamaican people, that is, in the diaspora, than those who live there. And I want to say to you, the majority of the men that leave Jamaica oftentimes get married, whether they got married from Jamaica and then migrated, or in the spaces where they live and they want to sort out their status, they marry somebody. Now, we have a narrative out here that insists on showing Jamaican men as the worst scoundrels. Now, hear this. Remember that by default, Black men are often demonized. And remember that Jamaicans, the group of Jamaican that was transported in or by the transatlantic slave trade based on history, are a different kind of melanated people. So remember what this means. And I am calming my mind down because there's so much flowing right now. We hear about how terrible these men are, and we never ever hear the women say, wait a minute, what part or what role did I play in my own victimization? I'm not here to defend Jamaican men, but I am insulted when I hear women tell the one side of the story and everybody run with it. People in general, when they're looking for opportunities, have found ways from way back, even to the day of slavery, have found ways how to be charismatic and how to be charming. Because from a long time, we learn that the sugar lips and the sweet things that we might say to people will cause them to be blinded. It's not really a Jamaican man thing. If that be the case, men in other parts of the world would not do the same things that Jamaican men are accused of doing, which is lie and cheat and violate and all the things that happen to women at the hand of men. It's not a Jamaican man thing. No, I don't want to focus on the negatives. I want to say, what about the other men? We can't possibly, as women, only gravitate towards these so-called bad men. Otherwise, that would mean something more about you than about them. Because if you're one woman and all these men that you so-called pick up, I mean, first of all, the fact that you're seeing men that you get involved with and have children with as men that you pick up already show your kind of mindset. You chose to get involved with these men, whether you gave yourself time to get to know them or you just, went off into this fantasy land and engage in relationship with men that you don't know. But there's got to be some positive experiences. There's got to be some relationship where the man didn't just, use and discard. What about the thousands and millions of people that came from Jamaica Men that came from Jamaica through that migration process where they got sponsored by somebody and those relationships last 20, 30, 40 years. What about those men? First and foremost, whenever you enter into a relationship with some fantasy mindset that this is going to be some fairy tale romance, that is where your problem is. There's no perfect man, as is there no perfect women. We are flawed individuals. We are human beings. We are flawed. We are not perfect. People say in the eyes of the Creator, we are perfect. But there's no such thing as perfection, first and foremost. And so I'm waiting to hear a story as we delve into these negative story. I would want someone to ask me a question. How did you meet? How long have you known each other? What are the positive things in you getting together? Because as I would say to my partner, okay, let's take it and accept that men are no good. Neither are women. None of us are good. So let's just say and work with the narrative that Jamaican men can be, dollar sign, pound sign, question sign. But what about the ones who get up out of their bed at 4 in the morning to go off and work to take care of their responsibility, their home, their children? What about the one who takes care of his wife? When are we going to hear about the husband that lifts his wife off her bed, take her in the bathtub and bathe her and take care of her? When are we going to talk about the Jamaican man that goes to work at 4 in the morning and comes home and at 10 at night preparing a meal for his sick wife? We're going to just dwell on the fact that he went out there and he cheated. And we're not hearing about all the ladies that do the same thing and then bring home a baby and give it to that Jamaican man who knows it is not his child and stays quiet and raise another man's seed as his own. We're not talking about men who don't know. We're talking about men who know this is not my baby and still keep that child, still raise that kid as his own. Jamaican men. When are we going to talk about it? When are we going to talk about the man who put all his own needs aside to make sure his household is complete? The sacrifice, the love, the respect. And let's just say some of them are not respectful. Because listen, we grow in an environment where a lot of people deal with a lot of harsh relationship or harsh treatments. And so some of these men will not be gentle or kind or tender because they never experienced that. And even as a woman, you might try to be gentle to some of these men and they will not be able to accept it because they don't know that as norm. Remember, our men are told not to cry. Boys are told you're not supposed to cry. And then when they're adults, we say you're no good because you're wicked when they don't show emotion. They're hurt inside. A lot of times you marry men that are hurt and wounded, and then without time and without counsel or without some kind of loving embrace, you expect them to be something that they're not. When am I going to hear about these Jamaicans who are perfectly imperfect, but who are good people at heart, who are responsible, but most important, who are grateful? The ones who marry people and as soon as they go, they abandon them. They were going to be that way whether you brought them from Jamaica or you went there to live with them. It's not because you brought them to America that they're ungrateful. It's because they themselves are inherently ungrateful. It's not because they live in Jamaica. If you met them in Africa, if you met them in England, they would be the same. It's not a Jamaican thing. It's not a black man thing. It's a human thing. And yes, I understand when you invest your time and your love on somebody and they turn out to be, so disrespectful, of course. But it has nothing to do with where they come from, because anywhere in the world you go, in any race you encounter people with the same behavior. It's not just black people that are getting divorced. The divorce rate is at all-time high. And the things or the experiences you've had with that Jamaican man that you sponsored, you will or have already had with another man. So I want you to take it easy and start looking at yourself and take responsibility for your own action, and not spend so much time demonizing the black man, demonizing the Jamaican man after have things soured between you, plain and simple. It's just soured. And now you realize you made a mistake in your choice. You can move on without making yourself this huge victim. You live and you learn and you take responsibility for your own actions. Stay blessed, everyone.